Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for today's session. We will be joined by Martha, who is going to take us through Barclays graduate programs and their MasterCard Foundation's program offerings as well. So over to you, Martha. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, welcome to everyone. And I also want to introduce my colleague, Maren Samadar, who is the advisor to the Scholars Program at Berkeley. And myself, I'm the Associate Director of the Center for African Studies. And you can see in our first slide here that the Scholars Program at Berkeley is based in the Center for African Studies, which is a research unit. So I want to start with a land acknowledgement, which if you've gone to any Canadian university presentations, they may have also done something like this, and that Berkeley sits on the territory of the Wichan people, the original landscape of the Cochinia-speaking Ohlone people, and they are the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. And one thing that's really important, and myself, I come from an Indigenous background too, that it's important to know that Indigenous people haven't disappeared, that they are still in the community, they're still in the area. Berkeley has benefited from the occupation of this land and the use of the land. And with the values of diversity and inclusion and community, it's important for us at Berkeley to make sure that we acknowledge the relationship with Native people. If you do end up coming to Berkeley, there's a lot to learn about the Native communities that were here and that are still here today in the Bay Area. And just really quickly, this is a map of the area, and it shows you all the Native lands that exist in the Bay Area. I've circled where Berkeley is on the top there in Northern California, right across from San Francisco. So this is a quick outline of what we're going to go through in this session. A little bit overview of the MasterCard Foundation. We'll walk through the application process for Berkeley, the two pieces of it. The first piece being the graduate degree programs, and the second piece for the Scholars Program. We'll talk about what we do in the Scholars Program at Berkeley that may be very similar, but may also be different from other places, the values, ethos, and expectations, and a few caveats, and then we'll go to Q&A. So I understand that many of you have heard other presentations about MasterCard Foundation Scholars Programs elsewhere, and the main emphasis is that the Scholars Program is one of many programs of the Foundation underneath their strategy, Young Africa Works, where they want to make sure that Africa's future is secured via young people and employment. So by 2030, the Foundation, their goal is to enable 30 million young people to secure employment that they see as dignified and fulfilling. So the Scholars Program is one part of that. And I think one clear part of this is that it is not a scholarship program just as it is. We don't just hand over money and say, go for it, go study, but rather it's a transformative leadership development program. And I think all the different partners in the Scholars Program emphasize that, and we certainly do at Berkeley. It is also part of the ethos of Berkeley, transformative leadership and change. So, quick overview of Berkeley. The campus was established in 1868 on, of course, unceded land from Native Americans. It's the first of 10 UC campuses. There are campuses all over the state. It was the first one. As I mentioned, it is in Northern California in the Bay Area. And you can see a picture there of looking out from Berkeley towards San Francisco. We like to say we are the #1 public university worldwide. We're also #1 in startup founders and female entrepreneurs. So innovation, entrepreneurship is very, very big at Berkeley. We solve problems. We don't accept the status quo. We're always looking for how things can be done better. On the campus, there's roughly about 45,000 students. 28% of them are graduate students, which includes PhD students and master's students. And you can see there's more master's students than PhDs. Among the graduate students, about 2,500 are international. So if you were to come to Berkeley, you would be part of that international graduate student group. There's 7,000 overall international students, but most of those are undergraduates. The Scholars Program at Berkeley is just for master's degrees and includes at least 33, maybe 30 more master's degree programs. And we'll have a slide that gives you a quick overview of that in a little bit. What does our program at Berkeley include? I think like all of them, there's tuition, stipends, health insurance, accommodations. In your first year, all scholars live in the International House, which is a wonderful, vibrant community right next to campus. And just a little tidbit there, it was the first campus, it was the first housing for students on campus that was integrated. In other words, there used to be divisions between, between white people and everybody else in the United States. So if you were Japanese or African American, you couldn't live together, and men and women couldn't live together. So International House in the 1930s began as the first integrated community on the campus. So that's an important place to be. We also cover the travel to Berkeley, visa costs, and you get a laptop. Now, as you'll see, the graduate programs at Berkeley are quite varied. And whoops, somebody's got some reverb there. Okay. Some of the programs are 1 year, some are a year and a half, and some are 2 years. If you're in a program that's more than 1 year, then you would also have a summer internship support that you can apply for. I mentioned transformative leadership. We offer a 2-unit course in the spring, and then Sankofa is the student group, which also offers transformative leadership opportunities. The foundation offers opportunities. And then across the campus, as I mentioned, the campus is known as the Changemaker campus. And so there's so many opportunities to become involved in transformative leadership across the campus. The UC Berkeley is also known for innovation and entrepreneurship, and within our scholars program, we emphasize entrepreneurship. So we have a boot camp in the fall where you learn how to be a startup and how to pitch your ideas, and you form a team. You learn how to work with a team, and then you get opportunities to practice pitching to seasoned entrepreneurs and get feedback on your work. There are a multitude of campus opportunities and ways of that you can engage in all sorts of levels, from the beginning ideation stage all the way to the expansion. Building up your innovation, your innovative ideas. We also work very closely with the African Diaspora Network, which is based in the community in the Silicon Valley. And there's a lot of networking and mentoring opportunities through that as well. In our program, we have advising support. Of course, I introduced Maren already. There's across the campus a lot of career development support, and you'll get a lot of that through your departments and then through the campus as a whole, and then through various interest groups on campus. But we also then, through the Scholars Program, provide some very specific career development support that focuses on the needs, particularly of African students. There are many opportunities to build the cohort. We do a retreat. We have other activities to bring the cohort together, to build a strong network, and then to translate that into a very, very strong alumni network. We now have about 157 alumni from the Scholars Program that are all over the place and doing amazing things. All right, the application calendar. So we will award 29 scholars per year through the year 2028. Since most of the programs are 2 years, that's why 2028, the program ends in 2030. This phase of the grant ends in 2030. In terms of what you need to know, what is the timeline? The degree program admissions applications for UC Berkeley's graduate programs opens in September. So it's already been open. You can already start your application. The deadlines for the various programs, they vary, and they go from December to mid-January. But if you want to apply for the application fee waiver, the deadline for that is November 15th within the graduate student application. We'll talk a little bit more about what that exact process is shortly. As I said, the various degree programs, Berkeley, one thing about Berkeley that's really, really important, it's incredibly decentralized. Everybody has brilliant ideas, and it's hard for the central campus. They don't want to try to force everybody into the same pattern. So that means that there are deadlines all over the place from December 1st on through. So you have to look very carefully to see what the program that you're interested in, and you can only apply for one program at a time. You have to see what the deadline is, but pretty much expect by December 1st, you'll need to pretty much have your application ready to submit. Note that there are a few programs that have later deadlines, past January 15th, or they have rolling deadlines. They are hoping to get as many students as possible, so they have a first cut, but then they have later cuts. For all the programs, you have to get it into the earlier rounds. For the MBA program, that first deadline is actually in September. For other programs, they have round 2, round 3. We cannot manage those. If somebody applies later, and even if they get admitted, they'll never hear from us, because we need to have we need to look at applications that have been submitted no later than January 15th. So at that point, in mid-January, the degree programs, they begin to look at the applications that they've received, and they will nominate candidates to us for the Scholars Program. In February, then, we'll look through all those nominations, and we'll invite those nominated candidates to submit a supplemental application to the Scholars Program. It'll be through the same platform that you've already submitted your application through, but there'll be a supplemental application that will add more information for the Scholars Program. We will then look at all those supplemental applications, and then in early March, invite selected candidates for online interviews. After that, we will finalize our selection. So by mid to late March, we will then contact everybody. At the same time, well, programs will notify people at different phases whether they've been admitted to Berkeley, but we will then also work with the departments, and if you've been selected for the Scholars Program, we will let you know. So you'll find out at roughly at the same time if you've been admitted to Berkeley and whether or not you've been invited to join the Scholars Program. And then the ball will be in your court to get back to us to see if you'll accept. And believe it or not, some people don't accept sometimes for various reasons. Okay, so what is the process? And this is really, really important here to understand that you have to apply to the degree program first. So as I said, those deadlines come in December 1st, December 15th, January something. So you have to do that application to the degree program first. I know that some other programs do it the opposite. Other programs, you apply first to the Scholars Program, but not at Berkeley. At Berkeley, you apply to the degree program for admission to the university first. And there's some links, and again, we've sent these files, but you can look at these links. What are the requirements for admissions to Berkeley? There are general requirements that are across the campus, but each graduate program has some of their own requirements. Overall, it is highly, highly competitive. I believe last year, about 40-some thousand people applied for graduate programs, both PhD and master's degree students. A little over 10%, a little over 4,000 were admitted. So it is highly competitive, and I think it's better to try and see what happens. But I just want everybody to know that even if you don't get admitted, just know that a lot of really wonderful, great, smart people don't get admitted into Berkeley. It is the graduate degree programs that make those decisions about admission. We have nothing to do with the decisions on admission. But I just want to let you know that it is highly competitive, but we encourage you to try anyway. Some important basic things that you have to have your bachelor's degree, and you need the equivalent of a 3.0 GPA. If you've come from other systems, there's ways of translating what those GPA, how it translates into grade point average. That's what the GPA means. There's ways of translating from your university system into the American system. Another thing that is absolutely required at Berkeley is English language proficiency. And you have to show that either if you've come from a country where English language was the medium of instruction and you went to an English language university, then that usually isn't required. But other than that, you do have to take either the TOEFL or the IELT tests, and the scores that are required are there. The Duolingo test is not accepted at the graduate level. So that is really important. The other thing is that most programs do not require any other standardized tests, but there are a few that do. So you do need to look carefully at the program that you're interested in to see if they do require some other tests. I know that the business school requires the GMAT. A few programs require the GRE, maybe the quantitative tests in that. So you do have to look at those. In terms of the degrees, this is also really important. As I mentioned, you can only apply to one program at a time every year. You can only do one application, one program. So it is really important to figure out if that is the program that suits you best, that works for you. So I highly encourage everyone to spend a lot of time looking at the website for that program, to contact the admissions staff of the program, the graduate student affairs officers. They have somebody who's designated as an admissions staff person. They may or may not have a lot of time to talk with you, but they also may be able to provide information. Maybe they have recordings of sessions like this that they've done specifically for their program that they can share. You should also look at what are the faculty and what are the graduate students in those programs doing, and is that what you want to do? Is that the kind of work that you're involved with? So are you a good fit for the program? And is the program a good fit for you? So, you're also selling yourself. Berkeley wants to get, great people into their programs. They're excited to recruit people that have wonderful ideas that you do. So you just want to make sure that program is the right one for you. All right. As I mentioned, we do have application fee waivers. It's $155 to apply to for an international student to apply to a graduate degree program. And this is, the application goes through the graduate Slack portal. Slack is a company that does these kinds of online applications. So the way that you get the opportunity to apply for a fee waiver is that you begin the basic application for admission. So you start applying to the program, you fill in your demographic information, and then you get to the point where you have to request at least 2 letters of recommendation. Once you do those 2 things, you complete all the demographic information, which includes which country you're a citizen of, and then you request 2 letters. There's an algorithm inside the process that will trigger an email to you and saying, oh, we've noticed that you're from an eligible country, which are all African countries, and that you're serious about doing an application because you filled out a good part of the application, including asking for letters of recommendation, or you put the names of the people in there that will be you'll be getting letters from. And then you'll get this email that will invite you to apply for the fee waiver. Now, note that we don't have a lot of fee waivers. Over 800 people applied for it, and we had about 100 to give out. So we are, first of all, if you're serious about this program, talk to them, and maybe the degree program itself can provide a fee waiver. Sometimes people are also able to crowdsource money, or if you have been working, you've been able to put money aside for that application fee. So we know that we know that it can be a barrier, but we just encourage you, knowing that there are very few that we have that we are able to give to award. You can apply for it, but if you can come up with some other way to pay for it, we encourage you to do that, including asking your degree program to provide one. All right. And also, we don't provide any assistance for the standardized test fees for the TOEFL or IELTS, or if you're applying to any of the public health programs, there's the SOFIS program or the standardized tests. So we unfortunately can't help with those. All right. As I mentioned, I think I said 157 alumni, so I guess it's 158 alumni since 2012. As I mentioned, our grant goes through 2030. The last intake at this point will be 2028. And we expect to, in this phase, over 200 master's degree scholars to be part of the program. As I've mentioned, the 2 important things in our program are transformative leadership that meshes with the change maker ethos on the Berkeley campus, as well as entrepreneurship. So these are 2 things we emphasize, but the programs, we don't limit the programs for the most part that you can apply to. In terms of eligibility, what makes you a good scholar? First of all, you're a citizen of an African country. not with dual citizenship outside, like in the United States or Europe or Australia or something like that. You know, you're a citizen of an African country, you're academically excellent, you've demonstrated a commitment to transformative leadership, so that you've shown already how you're willing to give back to your community, that you've done things, you've demonstrated that you have ways of giving back already, and that you intend to remain actively engaged in your communities, so that if you get the opportunity to go abroad and study in another country, you're not going to be turning your back on where you came from, and that you have clear ideas of how you would give back to your communities back at home. And I realize that for home, some of you, that is a complicated reference, but we can talk about that later. So another aspect of this is that you've experienced significant barriers to accessing higher education, and those can include social, financial, personal, practical, or health related. And like all the scholars programs, all the partners, we are encouraging women, people with disabilities, and those who have been refugees and or displaced. So we're particularly encouraging applicants from people in those categories. So this slide here doesn't even list all the programs available, but it's kind of a summary of the kinds of programs that one could apply to at Berkeley. We have everything from architecture to social welfare, education to a master's of forestry. We have multiple engineering programs, everything from the one-year Master of Engineering that has various concentrations to a civil and environmental engineering program, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. There's a very unique two programs at Berkeley. One is development engineering, and this one specifically looks at the issues of doing engineering in environments that are looking also to develop. And so the students in that, they actually have to take a course in development. Then there's also the Masters of Design, which is a 3-semester program that's also very interesting. So lots of public health programs, lots of opportunities. But again, you need to look at the programs and see if it's the right program for you. All right, I'm almost done here. A few final points. As I've mentioned again and again, you have to apply to the graduate degree program first. That's the first step, and you want to meet the application deadline for that program before we ever get in touch with you about applying to the scholars program. That, if you get nominated by your degree program, then in February, we'll reach out to you and send that supplemental application. Now, we get a lot of applications. We are unable to provide explanations as to why someone was or was not awarded a place in the scholars program. I can say that we, if we had 1,000 places in the MasterCard Foundation's scholars program to give out, we could probably fill all of them, because we see so many excellent applications. So if for some reason you are not selected, don't take that personally, like somehow you're not up to snuff. There's so many different issues that go into coming up with that list of 29 people who are going to be offered a place in the program. Finally, the email is there for you to reach out to us. You might be able to, because many of you are good detectives, you might be able to find our personal emails, our personal work emails on the internet. Don't email us directly. Put everything through the program email. At this point, I'm going to see if Maren has anything to offer. He's been involved with this for 5 years now, and he's seen pretty much everything that's come through, so he may have some comments that he wants to add.
Martha, you said it all perfectly. Just some people were raising hands, so I don't know if they have to jump into question and answer. Yeah.
All right. And I understand then, Gilberto, once the question and answer starts, we're going to stop the recording. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I can stop that now. That's right.
Okay. All right. And just one more thing, though, is that the QR code there will take you to the website for the program. All right. Okay.